Hey MVPs, Rico Knows here. Going to talk to you guys about a futures bet. You guys know the deal. I tell you what I think of these teams going into next season. We try to get an early jump on these bets. They're on the FanDuel Sportsbook. They're probably on DraftKings as well. You just have to find them. It's win totals for next season. It's regular season. You don't get to include the conference championship game and no bowl games. I've been breaking down every single team. Now, some people will tell you don't bet on these. They bet on games that are going on right now, all that shit. Guys, I'm trying to tell you, jump on this early, pay attention. We're keeping track of everything, and we're going to find out how much money we're winning at the end of the year. If you didn't jump on these bets early, you're going to lose your ass. It's that simple. I really recommend you jump on it. Here's the chart. I'll show it to you guys. I've already broken down each team by conference. We just finished the ACC, moving our way down into the Big Ten, and this video today is on Indiana. You see it, 5.5 is their win total. I have them at the over, and we'll talk about it. And I have it pretty big. I have it in green, meaning it's a lock, but let's go talk about it. Let's pull it up. Indiana, last year, didn't look very good. You can see it here. They beat Indiana State. They beat Akron in 4 overtimes. They beat Wisconsin in a miracle. And then they lost to everybody else. Now, yes, there were some close losses, some competitive losses, but they were a really hard watch on TV. They were annoying. I watched every one of their games, obviously, but I still found them very boring. They had a kid named Taven Jackson transfer in from Tennessee. He was supposed to be the savior. Did not turn out to be the savior at quarterback. And it turned out that some kid named Sorsby is pretty damn good. Brennan Sorsby, took over the quarterback job late in the year. He's a Texas kid, but he eventually hit the transfer portal as well, and he'll be the starting quarterback at Cincinnati. So they fire their coach, Tom Allen, and they go hire Curt Cignetti. And if you don't know Curt Cignetti is an incredible coach from JMU doing more with less. And I love Curt Cignetti and everything he's doing. I can show you guys proof of something right now. I want to show you guys my chart for the transfer portal, and I kind of rigged it so you guys can see it right here in this video. So if you look down here, I'm going to go and click on my complete transfer portal chart from last year. And now the only team you're not going to see here is Colorado. They're number 1. I took them off the chart. But I want you to see the teams that I felt did the best in the transfer portal with their impact. It's the rankings up here, and this tells me they're gonna turn their team around. Look where SMU's at. What kind of season did SMU have? I really believed in SMU. But there's a number right here. There's a team where the wheels didn't fall off. Shout out to New Mexico State for being up here. Shout out to Louisville for being up here. A lot of teams did well in the transfer portal, but there's JMU. And what happened is, if you look to the far right, it has a 30 in parentheses. And then I wrote 6 to 12, McLeod, Sproles, and Lawton. And what I'm trying to tell you guys is last year, 24/7 Sports and On3 had JMU with only 6 transfers, and that's why they were ranked 30th in my initial polls. I went back and found 12 transfers. I found 6 more that were not on the websites. And the 3 guys they left out were McLeod from Arizona, Sproles from North Dakota State, and Lawton, and I forget where Lawton was coming from. But the point is that I found superstars that the websites weren't talking about. And I had them listed, and I went and said, you know what? After looking this over, I don't think JMU is the 30th best team in the transfer portal. I think they're the 7th best team, or the 5th best team, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had JMU at 5. So why am I bringing that up? Well, I just knew JMU was going to have an amazing season. I knew they were going to go undefeated in the regular season, nearly, and they were going to be so amazing because they're 5th in my impact poll. Now, I haven't done my impact ratings for this offseason in the transfer portal just yet. But I can tell you, eyeballing, Indiana's in my top 5. Indiana's in my top 5 in the transfer portal. Impact score. Shout out to their head coach, Curt Cignetti, coming over from JMU. So look at their stat leaders. Sorsby's gone, went to Cincinnati. Taven Jackson wasn't built for the moment. He probably shouldn't be starting at quarterback. 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Probably not ready. Running backs, Trent Howland jumped in the transfer portal. Was initially verbally committed to go to Minnesota. I told him it's a bad transfer. Go find it. I talked about it on YouTube. I talked about it on Twitter. And a week later, he pulls out of the portal and he goes back to school. He's actually staying at Indiana, which is great news for him and great news for the school. Congratulations, Trent Hallen. You are the leading rusher. Guys, he's the leading rusher on 75 carries. They weren't using Trent Hallen all season. If you look and you see his recent games, look at these numbers when they weren't using him back in September. Nothing, no carries. It wasn't until November they discovered we got a bruising running back. This man is 6'3", 240. He looks like Derrick Henry. 6'3", 240. Try tackling Trent Hallen. I dare you. And he's not the clear-cut starter. They weren't giving him the rock. They didn't realize they had a running back. You see why they only lost by 4 points, 3 points. Overtime by 3 points. You know why they were so competitive in these games? Because they were able to run the ball and sustain the possession, the series. First downs lead to touchdowns. Trent Hallen is why. But when you have a terrible coaching staff and you don't know your personnel, shout out to Tom Allen and them boys, that's why they all got fired. Trent Hallen is him, okay? So that's number one. So congratulations, Trent Hallen's coming back. Jalen Lucas jumps in the portal, and you'll see he went to Florida State to go play with his brother. I don't know what that's about. Jalen Lucas ain't good enough to play at Florida State. And if he is, Florida State sucks. Christian Turner, a transfer from Wake Forest, second leading rusher, left Wake Forest, shows up here. Kind of a coincidence because the second leading rusher from Wake Forest transferred again to Indiana. That's pretty cool. We'll talk about it. Receivers. Donovan McCauley, NFL caliber. NFL caliber, team's leading receiver, jumped in the portal. Guess what? Curt Cignetti convinced that man to come back. That's what I'm talking about. Get your ass out the portal. We need you, and he's back. Talk about a great environment or culture. Curt Cignetti is convincing star players to leave the portal and come back and compete with us. We're JMU times 2, and let's do it. And I say we're JMU because Indiana's about to be a problem. Kicker doesn't matter, and I'll show you why in a few. Defensively, yes, some guys departed. Shout out to Philip Dunham. I think he took off to FAU. He's a good player. Andre Carter, NFL. You look at Jacob Magnum Farrar. He's actually coming back, but he's moving from this linebacker position where he played linebacker. He's moving to like the edge, defensive end. If you didn't know, JMU is going to run, Curt Cignetti's going to run a 4-3 defense. He's a defensive head coach. So he's defense all day. Everything he does is defense driven. Just remember that when we start talking about who we got at Indiana next year. So let's look at the starting lineup. I already told you, McCauley's NFL caliber coming back. Elijah Surratt, we're going to talk about it. That's a 1,000-yard receiver. Came up from the FCS, was an FCS All-American, showed up and balled out last year. Miles Price has been a starter at Texas Tech for like 3 years. He's showing up in the transfer portal. Keshawn Williams doesn't really move me. He's the third best receiver out of Wake Forest. Not terrible, but it's not like this move doesn't move mountains for me. Miles Cross, don't get it twisted. Miles Cross is good, and the only reason is he's coming over from Ohio. That is a kid who's got continuity with the starting quarterback in Curtis Rourke. We'll get into it. We'll get into every single one of these positions. Shout out to Carter Smith, one of the best young talents on the offensive line. Jumped in the portal, could have went anywhere. This is a redshirt sophomore, and he's coming back. They pulled him out of the portal. What are we doing? They pulled Bob Bostad. You guys don't know Bob Bostad? That's the offensive line coach. Bob Bostad made all these offensive linemen amazing. We saw Khalil Benson leave to Colorado. We saw another kid, I'm forgetting his name right now. He transferred to Oregon. I got it. Some huge bodies. Bob Bostad knows what he's doing. He's so good that when Curt Cignetti took over the job, he fired everybody except for Bob Bostad. He said, no, we need that guy. We need that dude. Bob Bostad used to be the offensive line coach at Wisconsin, and he was a defensive line coach there. He's all those Wisconsin great linemen, yeah, Bob Bostad. He's so good at what he does. He went out there, and he's going to make this offensive line great again. He's going to make MAGA. He's going to make them great again. Zach Horton, we'll talk about him. This is a transfer coming over from JMU. 6 touchdowns in less than 30 receptions. He's a monster in the red zone. Shout out to Curtis Rourke. He needs to get on the winning track. We'll figure that out. I told you, Trent Hallen's coming back, 6'3", 240. By the way, 2 leading rushers from 2 other there's another running back. There's 5 running backs at Indiana competing for playing time. And that's just the thing, is Curt Cignetti has got so much talent at every position group. They're competing against other talented players. It's a phenomenal thing. I love it. You look at the defense here. I'm going to go down every single player here in a few. I'm going to talk to you guys about all these transfers and how I feel Indiana's defense will be the strength of that team, despite the receiving core being one of the best I've seen around. All right, let's go. So, transfer portal. Transfer portal. First and foremost, who did they lose? Let's go to who they lost. Because Rico, they lost a bunch of players. Yeah, man, Cam Camper here. Cameron Camper, a former JUCO wide receiver, been injured twice, ended his season every single time. Now he's going to Boise. Congratulations. He's a good receiver, just never really does the damn thing. Going to Missouri State here out of Westlake. Shout out to Georgia. I like it, but not a big deal. Not a big deal. Philip Dunham, I love the transfer, by the way, going to FAU. Wanted to go closer to home and finding a place you can actually get playing time and contribute. I like it. Jalen Lucas, the complete opposite. Going down to Florida. Can't play at Florida State, but he's going there. Said he's going to return kicks. Good luck. I don't see it. Murray State, not a big deal. None of these moves really move me all that much. Joshua Sales was depth on offensive tackle. Dexter Williams, a backup quarterback. I hope he can play at Georgia Southern. James Mons is actually pretty decent. I don't mind him. He's athletic. Zach Carpenter, starting center or starting interior offensive lineman. I think he's going to go be the center at Miami. Good player. Good player. There's Matthew Bedford. That's the kid going to Oregon. Congratulations. PJ Lucas, I think it's Patrick Lucas Jr. Not a bad player. Was in the rotation. Memphis should probably use him and get a lot out of him, so that's pretty cool. Rest of these guys don't move me all that much. Nick James is getting recruited because of his body, and he went to IMG. Jordan Shaw, I actually don't think he's very good. He's actually going to Washington now. This is a relationship-driven transfer. He knows the recruiting coordinator, that kind of deal. Nothing too ballsy. Khalil Benson, I'm sure Colorado's happy to get him. He's grown, 6'6", 330. He's a starter. He will start at Colorado. And then Sorsby, total stud. Okay, Sorsby is a future stud, by the way. 6'3", 200 pounds, can play football. Hey, Rico, they lost a lot of talent. Yeah. They got a shit ton of it, okay? They got 22 transfers. We're going to go down this. Brace yourself. Jaden McDonald, coming over from Troy. Let me explain this to you guys. Go to Troy stats. Jaden McDonald, team's leading tackler, transferring in. He's the third linebacker to transfer into Indiana. The third one, the most recent one. Dude, Jaden McDonald is Troy's leading tackler. Troy. A phenomenal team. Their leading tackler said, I'm going to go up there to Indiana to see what's cracking. That's phenomenal. Elijah Surratt, go to JMU. You pull up JMU stats. You have to, because Elijah Surratt right here, 1,100 yards receiving, 82 receptions. This was a former FCS All-American. Showed up to the FBS and said, I got you. Okay, shout out to Elijah Surratt. I'm excited to see him here. Elijah Green, just a quality running back from North Carolina. Like I said, there's 5 running backs competing. Elijah Green's one of them. He'll be in the rotation. How about Asbury and Terry Jones coming over from ODU in the secondary? These are 2 safeties. They know each other. There's continuity there. They both started at ODU, and if you didn't know, 3rd and 4th in tackles, 104 tackles, 95 tackles between the 2 of them. They have 199 tackles last year. They brought in tackling machines, bro. They brought in guys who were the leading tacklers at their previous school. They brought them in on the defense and said, yo, you're over here now. You're at Indiana. So look at this. Stud on defense. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. Tyler Stevens. I'm going to show you Tyler Stevens coming over as an offensive tackle. By the way, Tyler Stevens, 6'5", 307. Redshirt senior, has 31 starts. Second team All Sun Belt. 31 starts. Last year started 13 games for JMU. He knows the offensive line. He knows what his head coach wants. This is a 36-game guy, 31 starts. You're not bringing in a scrub. You're bringing in a bona fide starter. So that's another transfer. Shout out to him. Kaleon Black, I was surprised to see him transfer, but he does have 2 years of eligibility left. That's a running back from JMU coming over. If you go look at JMU stats and you look at their running backs, Black and Lawton are both transferring to JMU. That's right, Black and Lawton. Now, Lawton was the short yardage back. Black was the actual starter. They're kind of both slow. But with those two guys, 1,100 yards of production, two dudes who know how to carry the load on a winning team, showing up and joining Trent Howland, who's already a monster, that's 3 running backs you believe in no matter what. You got 3 running backs in the rotation on the field at all times. It doesn't matter. You got 3 dudes who can do everything. I love it. That's real depth at running back. And we're not even talking about the North Carolina running back, Elijah Green. Right? And shout out to Green. He played at Blessed Trinity. I'm a big Georgia high school football guy. All right. Then we got James Carpenter coming in. Defensive lineman from JMU. Another starter from JMU. If I go back to the defensive stats, James Carpenter right here. One of the studs. 4 sacks. An interception. A forced fumble. He does everything. Fills up the stat sheet. James Carpenter. Total stud. 5th on the team in tackles. You got to love it. They brought in all their best players on defense, except for one, right? Jalen Walker and Aiden Fisher, both coming in from JMU. This is the team's leading tacklers, Aiden Fisher and Walker. Fisher has 2 years of eligibility, 0-star kid coming out of high school, bunch of nonsense. First year he starts, he leads the team in tackles. He can do it all. Pops on tape, Aiden Fisher, NFL caliber, Jalen Walker, just to get your top studs all coming to your new school. They went to JMU, said, give me your leading tacklers. They went to ODU, said, give me your leading tacklers. They went to Troy, said, give me your leading tacklers. We're putting all the leading tacklers on one team. We got dudes on this defense that they average over 100 tackles a season. And they're not all going to be relied upon for 100 tackles, but they're capable. They get 11 men to the ball. Living proof right here. Production for days. These are real players, man. I don't want to hear about no stars. I don't want to hear about no potential. These guys make tackles. Zach Horton, like I said, starting tight end for JMU last year. We're talking about a guy that has 6 touchdowns in 27 receptions. Do the math on that. He's scoring every 4 receptions. Every 4 catches, that man scores a touchdown. Get him in the ball in the red zone. He's a mismatch. Zach Horton knows how to play football. They brought him over. He's the starting tight end. Nick Kidwell, offensive tackle. He got injured last year, but let's talk about Nick Kidwell. Look at this man. How old does he look, bro? He looks 35. Nick Kidwell looks like a blacksmith, and we don't have blacksmiths anymore. 6'5", 317, straight out of JMU. 52 games, 34 starts. 52 games, 34 starts. This is what you're combining with. When I showed you the depth chart here, and I showed you Tyler Stevens, he started X amount of games. We just talked about Kidwell, starting games. Caddick, I didn't even talk about him. This man jumped in the portal. Well, no, he didn't even jump in the portal. He declared for the NFL draft. And then he withdrew his name from the draft. He's coming back. He was a starting center last year. Carter Smith jumped in the portal, came back. We're talking about an offensive line where these guys have all started like 30, 40, 50 games. It's insane. I've never seen something like this. The continuity is going to be a concern, but you got a great offensive line coach. You got great talent. These guys know each other. Complete studs. Shout out to Nick Kidwell. Hope he stays healthy. He's on his way to being great. Another stud on there. Derek McCormick, kicker, coming over from ULM. Bro. Derek McCormick missed 1 extra point. Missed 2 field goals all year. By the way, he made 2 over 50 yards. This man can make 50-yard field goals. He hit the portal. Showing up to Indiana. 2 over 50 yards. That's an NFL-style kicker. NFL-level kicker can make 50-yard field goals. Got him in the portal. Indiana's got special teams. Offensive line. Wide receivers galore. Tight end they believe in. Running backs for days. There's Lawton. I already talked about him. There's a long snapper in Langston. Oh, we got Kamara. Mikael Kamara should not be at Indiana. This man should be going to the highest bidder. It's his first year starting last year, and Kamara at JMU, I believe he had 7 sacks. Let me double check that. I was wrong. 7.5 sacks. 7.5 sacks. Complete stud. Yes, Jalen Green was leading the country in sacks until he got injured and was done for the rest of the year. But this was little bro. Mikael Kamara, I want you guys to know this. Defensive lineman. Isaac Ukwu, who's in the current NFL draft right now. Isaac Ukwu transferred to Ole Miss last year. He was a stud defensive lineman on this team. He leaves, and Jalen Green takes over. Jalen Green gets injured, and Kamara takes over. They have so much depth on the defensive line at JMU, and all these boys, they're at Indiana now. Indiana's loaded, guys. Long story short, Indiana's loaded. Miles Price been starting at Texas Tech for 4 years. You see it here, over 50 receptions, over 40 receptions. His quarterback can't do a damn thing with him, but he knows what to do. Miles Price is a pro slot receiver, okay? The one guy that when I saw them winning in the portal early, so when they were getting in the portal early, this is before Coach got there, this is right when Coach got there, all that stuff, they were getting this caliber of player down here. Miles Cross coming over from Ohio, Trey Weddick coming over from Wisconsin. Now, this is a kid who used to start at Wisconsin, okay, 6'7", 317, but he started at Wisconsin back in 2022, 8 starts in 10 games. Then he's got a lot of versatility, he can play anywhere. But last year, Wisconsin gets a new coaching staff. They get new players, new offensive coordinator, and they just let this guy play, but they didn't let him start. So he's leaving. He is starting caliber. Don't you dare get it twisted. He's starting caliber. Shout out to him. Indiana's got themselves depth on the offensive line, complete studs coming in the portal. I like everything they're doing, guys. And I don't know how to tell you guys this, but Curtis Rourke is him. Justin Ellison coming over from Wake Forest is him. Look at Wake Forest. Justin Ellison, second leading rusher on that team. He left 548 yards rushing, 4.6 yards a carry. Complete stud in a terrible offense. There's Keshawn Williams. He showed up, wide receiver, 38 receptions, 384 yards. The two of them are showing up. I just love everything about Indiana this offseason. And Curtis Rourke. All right, Rico. Ohio quarterback, 6'5", 231, final year of eligibility. You saw the numbers there. He ranked 66th in QBR. He doesn't look very good. 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I love Curt Cignetti and what he does with quarterbacks. But look at Curtis Rourke back in 2022. There's something here, bro. 25 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. There's something here. 3,200 yards passing. This man knows what to do with wide receivers. His wide receiver core was terrible at Ohio. All he had was one little dude. One little white dude, former walk-on from Ohio State. But other than that, he had no other receiver threats. He gets to Indiana, they got all the receivers, man. They got all the receivers. I'm excited for Rourke. I'm excited for Indiana. Let's go look at that record or that schedule. I got them beating FIU. I got them beating Western Illinois, beating UCLA, beating Charlotte, beating Maryland, beating Northwestern. I got them going right, bro. I kid you not, guys. I have them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-0. Get a bye week, 2 weeks to prepare for Nebraska, 7-0. And they might beat Washington. Washington lost their coach, lost most of their talent. They might beat Washington. They might even be 8-0. They're beating Michigan State, 9-0. Losing to Michigan, losing Ohio State. I got them winning 9 to 10 games. I sound crazy. I think Indiana's winning 9 to 10 games, 8 to 9 games at worst. Nobody listens to me. Nobody hears me. It's the off season. I know transfer portal players. I know what they've brought in. I know what they have. Indiana's winning 8 or more games. So when I go to Vegas and I see a 5.5, I lose my flipping mind. I've been talking for 23 minutes because your money matters, bro. Your money effing matters. Indiana's, and it's plus money. It's plus 128. Sell your car. Go, bro. But, man, whatever your unit size is, times that damn thing by 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Indiana, bro. Go look at it. Go pay attention to the teams they're playing against. Indiana's winning more than 5 games. They're winning 6 games or more. All they got to do is win 6. Maybe you don't believe in 8. Maybe you don't believe in 9 or 10. But, bro, 6. 6 games. Curt Cignetti, Indiana, loaded. There's not a weak position anywhere. Not one position I look at and I go, man, they suck. They got to work on their secondary a little bit. They got 2 safeties with 100 tackles each. I don't know what to tell you guys. Indiana. Your friends don't know. But Rico knows. Good luck, y'all.